Welcome in here to HGC North American Playoffs, day number 2, where we saw Team Freedom at the end of yesterday clinch their spot today. They'll have a matchup going against Octalysis. My name is Jay Howe. Joining me is Dreadnought. Dreadnought, we saw some excitement at the start of the day, and then a dominant performance by Team Freedom to get them here today.
And now the question is do they have what it takes to take on what is debatably one of the most intimidating teams that we have within our playoffs, purely based off the lack of understanding it seems like a lot of teams have when it comes to the drafting and the overall play style of Octalysis. And when they've come in with wins, Jay Howe, out of all the teams in North America, though Tempo Storm is the team waiting tomorrow in our playoffs, Octalysis dominates with their wins, with sub-14-minute games very consistently.
Yeah, it'll be cool. We'll dig deeper into that. First, we'll take a look at our standings so we can see how all of this shook out. If you actually go back as recently as last weekend, Dreadnought, we had Octalysis versus Team Freedom, a grudge match seemingly brewing. Octalysis beat them in that series to put them in the number 3 spot, meaning they did not have to play yesterday because they got that victory before. They'll have to do it again here today if they want to get to tomorrow, where, as you said, Tempo Storm will be waiting. But you can see how things have shaken out. Endemic and LFM both saw their way out yesterday. Simplicity and No Tomorrow in that 7-8 spot will be in the Crucible next weekend. Here's the bracket in terms of how things go. We do have our ladder system here, Endemic versus LFM, in a great series yesterday to start. As we already mentioned, Team Freedom took down Endemic, but all eyes are on this brewing matchup between these teams. We've heard some words lately. Dreadnought, I did some digging. I looked at these. Team Freedom, after phase 2 of last year, going into phase 2 last year, that's when they hit their power spike. That's when they went to BlizzCon last year. The core of that team has remained intact. The core of Octalysis has remained intact. But in 10 series in league and playoff play, Octalysis holds an 8-2 record over Team Freedom.
And that looks grim at first glance. And honestly, it probably is a difficult matchup here. I think the underdog very much is going to be Team Freedom, not only based on the performance so far, but after the last 2 weeks with what we got from these two teams. But there is a huge silver lining. Freedom got away with a 3-0 running the most generic Team Freedom compositions we have seen yesterday, with the Anubright Greymane split push into the offlane on both Sky Temple and Infernal Shrines. And that has been a lot of what we were wondering when it comes to the playoffs and the final seeding, especially now that we're hitting the upper half of the playoffs, is how much information was available. And Freedom got away in the clean. So suddenly it's almost a clean slate from both sides here. And now it's really who's the better team here today.
Zugrug mentioned in the winner's interview yesterday, he said we didn't have to show anything. We still have some more. But we also get to hear from him today, as we heard from both of these teams on this matchup for this series about to kick off.
Octalysis is a tough team to prepare for because they run some pretty wild drafts. Like, sometimes we look at their comps and we're like, what is this? And then it works out really well. But then other times it just completely fails. So I think we're just going to be quick to adapt during the draft, during the game, and during the series, just adjusting our priority on picks. Going into any series, we always want to win, but against these guys, there's a bit of extra motivation just because they've been like really trying to start drama with us for whatever reason, and it just makes us want to win even more.
It's really good that we get an extra day to watch what Team Freedom plays. Seeing them play a whole set is really important, and hopefully they're in a position where they have to show stuff so that we can get some information from them. So that's a good advantage off the bat. And also, we're making a lot of improvements from last week. Our match against them was a 3-1, but we're not completely satisfied with that. I think an important part of the last match was shutting down Lutano and getting into his head a bit, especially with his Falstad fly that he had there that one time. I think if we can get into Lutano's head and we can shut him down, I think the whole team will kind of fall apart. So we're going through our drafts, we're changing things up, we're coming up with some extra special stuff for Freedom, and hopefully the next time we meet, it's a 3-0.
And, you know, when we talk about these teams, Dreadnought, we've heard recently, last week, about the pauses between these teams. Is it something spicy? Was there something else going on? it seems to be a thing between these teams.
Yeah, and that was a debatably one of our few almost 3-2-3 2.0 type moments there with the pause opportunity when these teams ended up facing the first time a huge momentum swing in favor of Octalysis, and it has spawned this weird bad blood between the two with some bad manner pauses at the very end there. So much so that during the victory of the 3-0 last time they ended up facing, Prism was comfortable dropping a little bit pause there as the last core HP was removed from Freedom's core. That was, I love it. The banter here back and forth between the two teams. A little bit salty, but you know that they are eager to prove that they are the better team and make their way onto tempo.
Anytime you have any type of budding rivalry, Dreadnought, there's a little extra that comes out inside of you. We'll see how much comes out. It's time to get this series started. Let's figure out what battleground we're going to. Volskaya, this has been the battleground Octalysis loves to go. So we see the ban on Sky Temple by Octalysis. No surprise there. Brax's holdout banned by Team Freedom. Dreadnought Volskaya. This has been probably the more standard style of play that we see from Octalysis, with only a minor wrinkle in what they do.
It does raise the question, though, of whether or not we are going to see any of that offlane pressure on a battleground like this from the members of Freedom. I don't know if it's going to come to light here. And then at the same time, with everything kind of going to the norm here, I feel like, again, both teams are at a clean slate. So it's what have they got prepped and what have they had ready? Because both of these teams, this is the expected so far, right? We have gone purely up the ladder system. So it's not going to be that wild hairball, I think, at least not yet here, as we're getting into draft.
This is exciting. This is one of those matchups. I love all the teams that we have here, but when you start to get in to the top tier of where we are at, there's only one match today and one match tomorrow. 3 teams, 1 spot. That's going to determine who goes. So there is so much on the line for these teams. Octalysis, when they were Roll20 last year, they went to BlizzCon. The 3 remaining teams that we have here, Dreadnought, were all North American representatives for BlizzCon. Out of the 3 that we have, it's crazy to think only 1 is going this year.
And here we see draft kicking off between Freedom and Octalysis. We have the Abathur, we got the Genji removal. And it's going to be a Deckard Cain instead of the white main here from Team Freedom. Very interesting choice, as it doesn't really scream removal of the double support. If anything, it would just be a major upper hand when it comes to the duo of the Tyrande white main, but I don't expect you to get either one of those if you're in the first pick slot from Freedom. So already showing variance on their half and that they're coming in with a plan.
Yesterday, you knew what to expect from the teams. Today, as you mentioned, the clean slate. So I have no idea what to expect. We'll get a Yrel ban, so Yrel, Genji, Abathur, Deckard, not our traditional newer meta bans. So Tyrande let through, Medivh let through, Maiev let through. We've seen Justin on that very battleground last week. We saw the different Maiev play. So there's so much counterplay potential as the Tyrande will come in here. This is exciting to see how this is going to break out. We already know it's going to be different.
Yeah.
How different is the question?
Yeah, and this does provide that double support capability like we were so concerned with there maybe for a moment in the draft with the Deckard banned out. Does Octalysis end up wanting the opportunity to commit? No, it is instead just going to be that Maiev paired with it, but white main available for Freedom. And this is a situation where I don't expect them to pull away from it. Even with the Medivh, it seems like that double kind of hybrid support, hybrid damage dealer is going to really work out for them.
The thing that scares me when I see the Medivh and I think of Team Freedom is the hammer potential. And Octalysis has to be aware. They know Team Freedom. They've played them so often. They've studied them. Arthas white main will be the pickup. We've seen them run Arthas Medivh before. That's when they had the Sergeant Hammer, I believe, on Infernal Shrines. This is a different battleground, but very much a hammer battleground. So Octalysis, they have to show their hand at maybe some tricky things that they're going to have out. Maybe some tricky play all around with the drafts.
I like the Medivh white main and Arthas synergy, though, overall. Really good gap closers and make up for a lot of the weaknesses that each have. A kind of beautiful trinity there all together. Octalysis not wanting to deal with the opportunity of a possible gray main to come out there for Yoda on the side of Freedom. And they take that away. I'm assuming some focus onto the front line now with the Arthas pickup already from Freedom. But it's a little interesting. Do you go with things like the Zul in this type of situation because they already have the Tyrande? Or in a different direction? And it seems like the Junkrat is the case. Now, Jayhoud, this is bold because we got this from Freedom yesterday as a response, but that was when they had sieging compositions. They don't have that right now. So does that a huge tell on where they're going?
Arthas is a counter to a certain hero. Named Illidan.
Yes, and that may be the case, but I think the biggest thing here is just showing that deviation is giving a bit of information that I think Octalysis could find a way to get an upper hand with here in this rotation, as they do end up moving into the Johanna and the Phoenix itself. Keep in mind that Freedom was willing to volunteer into the Arthas over the Johanna, even though the Maiev was picked up as a response to that. But with the Johanna into a Tyrande, I thought we would see that higher of value here. So letting it go that late, that was very much Freedom should have expected, I feel like, this pickup.
Well, I like this. There's the Sergeant Hammer. Now that they've kind of said, hey, do we get anything? Wow, this has to be a Lutano. Oh, interesting. Oh, there, Sergeant Hammer was the Lutano. So Medivh will likely be Yoda in this situation. We've seen this similar style play from them before. Does Octalysis have something here they can bring to the table like
a Chromie?
That's not what I anticipated, but that's what we're getting. So very standard here for these teams.
We can go ahead and just lay it out on the line, J-Hal. We've gotten quite a bit of Chromie as an answer to Sergeant Hammer, and it just hasn't looked good. Even when the Chromie is playing well, and I think this is the most important thing to raise. When we say it doesn't look good, it's like, well, you know, Vin in a couple of picks wasn't doing his job. He was hitting as many spells as possible. Yeah. Vin is not the only player who's tried this attempt. But since the Chromie adjustments have come in, she does not pack the same punch compared to things like the Li Ming, which is why we expected to see that kind of secret rise through North America over the past couple weeks.
Just wait till you see the lineups.
Okay.
So Prismat has, if there is one person in the entire world, and Poik, I love you, but if there's one Chromie player in the world that I want, it's Prismat. If my playoff life is on the line, it's Prismat, Poik, and then I'll take whoever else is behind that, maybe Reset. But Prismat sits at the top of my list, Dredd, and for very good reason.
Yeah, I think that is very fair. That Prismat is an outlier enough within the character that I'm a little bit more optimistic than I normally would be, but I still just feel like, is this really the tool? Especially
it's not the player, it's the hero.
Yeah, the Medivh and everything the like going into it, I'm just not sure if that is the tool here. But now with Tyrande in the meta, that's another thing that we haven't talked about. When Tyrande was in the meta, Chromie wasn't so much. And now this is the first time that they both debatably are in the same meta together. So do they just one-shot, one kill from max range? We're finding out here.
Well, this is the interesting part for me, Dreadnought. Justin will be on the Maiev, meaning Goku is on the Johanna here. So a different setup on that front line. Draded will be on the Phoenix. That will be Prismat on the Chromie, and Buds on Tyrande. That will be Octalysis here on the left in blue.
J-How, to role swap on your playoff life, man, Woo. This is bold. Octalysis coming out confident, but here in red is Freedom with Whitemane played by Collusion. Gonna have Lutano repping the team here on the Sergeant Hammer. Zugrug, as always, on the Arthas on the front line. Gonna have Nasmus on that Malthel, and last up is Yoda playing that Medivh.
Yeah, seeing how this plays out for Octalysis, this is one of their more normal drafts that we don't normally get. Lutano will siege up in the bottom, get some early damage in. Nice blind comes in. Stun just missing. Has Yoda sitting on a portal if needed. Lutano will just simply siege right back up.
I'm still so taken back here, J-Hal, at the fact that Goku is on that Johanna. And that is nothing against the player of Goku. I mean, I have nothing but high praise for him since his entrance towards the professional scene long ago. But to get wild with drafting and have the dominance that Octalysis has had, but then now be at a point to be comfortable to roll swap on the fly with it, that is a whole nother level compared to the deviation that we've gotten from them. And I just don't know if that's going to be enough here. But for now, it's looking all right, as the control here is pretty even between Octalysis and Freedom.
Yeah, we're seeing a pretty okay rotation by Octalysis. The one thing I love is that they're prepared for this. Goku, he plays around Fog, making sure not to eat any auto attacks, hits the blind as he comes around, then moves in for the contempt. Maybe a half step off and pulling that full thing together, but then having Chromie there. So they have a lot of tools, a lot of ways to adapt and deal with that pressure of the Sergeant Hammer. So I really like what we've seen so far. That's in the rotation game. We know Volskaya is all about the control point and far more difficult in these situations.
And the question is, you know, does the Tyrande Chromie with the Maiev setup there have enough crowd control and one-shot capability on the side of Octalysis to be overly threatening, especially with the expectation that we're going to have Lutano there on the Sergeant Hammer using that ambush at level 1 to get a large amount of damage output.
So this is the slightly buffed Chromie, I believe is what we're seeing. So the The bonus on your attacks with the Bronze Talons, 140% bonus damage on your autos, and then your Q, the Echo Sandblast, hits by 50%. So this is a slightly revised version of Chromie. I had to double check on what patch we were on here just to make sure the Chromie changes. I thought she was gone. She's springing back in here as the counter. No Li Ming.
We also see, actually, it's going to be Raven familiar there. For I was going to say, is that armor for a moment here? But it's going to be standardized here for Freedom when it comes to the build. As we got 20 seconds out from control point A. When looking at the off lane, camp pressure in favor of Octalysis after picking up that mercenary camp. Malthael looking to pick that up though, so it's not going to be too big of an advantage. Was scouted as Bud sent out that Sentinel. Overall, when it's all said and done, Octalysis should have a small temporary advantage over the beginning half of control point A until that camp's dealt with. And then after that point, it's really anybody's game.
Mobius loop picked up as well. This, whenever you hit a hero Dreadnought, it reduces the cooldown of your Dragon's Breath by 3 seconds. It's 8 seconds, you land that. That is a 5-second cooldown, and you get mana back. So there is some play with this Chromie to see it come out again here. Zugra being tracked down will be forced off point as Team Octalysis kicks things off with the control, but Dreadnought, they'll have to relent control at some point because that camp at the top is being escorted by Malthael.
Yeah, and that's why we see the two-man rotation there as Phoenix and Maiev traded and adjusting, making them transition out. And Jayha, I want to bring it back to the Chromie and Tyrande kind of synergy that we got over the last skirmish before this quarrel happens here, as everybody is now going to be looking for the collapse. But after that trap was hit, Goku's still going to drop the Iron Skin, but now Prismat's in a bad spot there. The Lunar Flare comes out, but it's too late. That is first blood here to Team Freedom.
The thought process for Goku was, I'm just going to wait till I see that root come out, then I can walk away. If you use it before, then you could be sieged down. Prismat, however, stepped out a little too far, and Team Freedom turned their attention quickly behind those Medivh portals.
Yeah, that was a very good job from them, and that's what I was going to highlight, was just that I didn't know if that the Team Freedom looked as synergistic with the Medivh as I was hoping to see from them, but that very much kind of changed my perspective there, because when the time trap was hit, we didn't see the Force of Will come out the exact same second, so a large amount of Chromie damage happened. If that happens at the late stages of the game, a Chromie trap into a large amount of damage out of the W and Lunar Flare, that could be the difference between a victory or defeat here. It's something that's got to be stepped up. But now another turret picked up for Octalysis as 8 rounds the corner. Chromie has the opportunity for a heroic. There is the slowing sands. As the Lunar Flare combo comes in, Lutano eats the damage, and the healing is not going to be there.
Prismat has been hitting at such a high frequency, Dreadnought. I have no idea. He is stacking like a madman in this last little bit. He was at 26 a moment ago, Dreadnought. He has hit everything for the last few minutes. He's up to 44. He got 18 stacks in a very short period of time using that level 1 quest. They're tracking down Nasmus. See if the portal will be up in time. Force of Will is going to be there. The baby portal, it did not matter. Octalysis has turned this fight. They're looking for more. Collusion being tracked down. Getting along that corner. He cannot get vision. Traded. Barely gets the heal and gets out alive. Collusion lucky to make it out of there, but a double kill at the end of it, and a Protector picked up by Octalysis.
Now this is the moment for Octalysis to really be able to open up the battleground and make things hurt here for Team Freedom. They're going to start with the focus here over mid. Lutano falling extremely low there. Great Force of Will, though. It's going to be able to keep him up, but zoning away Hammer is huge here, Jay. How this composition relies on the Sergeant Hammer to be a large amount of the anti-siege damage, and now Octalysis rounding towards the 10 talent tier. This is going to be, in my mind, a minimum 1 fort play. The question is, do they get the double as they make the transition up, knowing that we've got control point B up next?
This is crazy to see that Chromie, that quest was completed. Prismat has been showing its strength. The Protector moving forward, looking for that 1 fort play that you mentioned. They get this down, could conceivably rotate mid and follow up. We'll see the Protector starting to fall. Just 10 seconds left as well. Lutano getting tracked down. Things going from bad to worse. Octalysis getting another kill there, extending the experience, taking down the fort. The Protector will expire. See if they make the rotation mid. They have the support camp as well to pick up. Octalysis' slow start, but they have really picked up the pace.
They have very much done that, and it's only going to continue here as we see the initiation onto Yoda, able to take the portal out as the salvo does come through. Sprays sent out, but the message clearly heavy-handed in favor here of Octalysis. Now going to get the biotic emitter, be able to back out and clean things up. And Jayhao, we were worried about the Chromie here, but I can't help but feel like it's not only the Chromie and Prismat playing out of his mind, but it's, again, remember talking about we've never seen Chromie and Tron in the same meta. The Lunar Flare on top of it is forcing out a lot of the self-unstoppable and anti-damage from Lutano, and that is where Prismat just makes it rain.
They're coming in for the engage. There's no Johanna here yet. Chromie actually at 47 stacks.
Oh, baby.
Collusion got bodied in there, but the slowing stance not enough to keep it out. Justin trying to get the damage on the backside. Hammer is way too far forward. Gonna get bombed on there. Zugrug, he's trying to survive with the army. He's coming in, trying to get it taken out. Dreaded manages to go ahead and warp on out the whole time, Dreadnought. Justin was back there trying to wreak havoc as they kept out that team entirely split. Another double kill. And Chromie in the middle of that finally finished. I thought when they got into the Protector it looked finished, but my screen a little off here.
Yo, Dre did straight up broke his calculator with how hard he was bashing the buttons on that one. Doing the math problem there to be able to get that survivability. Another invade there after the victory over that skirmish. 13 talents here around the corner. I think this is the best fight Freedom's going to get for some time. Is the portal thrown out to be able to aid Lutano. Not going to be taken here. Octalysis take the turret, say thank you, Freedom, and we're going to be off on our way.
This is just high octane for me. Team Freedom, they're not backing down from the team fights like the Team Freedom that we might have seen against a lesser opponent. They took a more cautious approach in other games. Here, they know they are giving it everything that they have. Right now, Octalysis, Dreadnought, after that second skirmish, when they picked up that double kill, Octalysis, they're starting to find a pick after a pick. And then Team Freedom with an invade on Volskaya. How many times do we see that trying their hand at a more aggressive approach? Octalysis managed to thwart it.
It isn't at the point to where Freedom is out of control of this game. They still have enough experience possible as they find a polybomb. Howling Blast not going to hit as the ball comes through out from Justin. Nice disengage from what could have been a very costly moment here of Octalysis. But as I was going to say, with control point B and the experience as close as it is, this is about the last remaining close to even fight that Freedom is likely going to get into this game. And if they struggle heavily here, I feel like Octalysis may be looking at a easy momentum and tone setter here for this series as we're 10 seconds out.
Dread, it's been a while, but you and I have had the conversation on certain supports that work well with Phoenix when he picks Rapid Recharge, to where he gets a shield based on the amount of healing that he receives. Given that Tyrande has that really good single target healing and the potential Elun's Chosen as well mixed in there, this is an interesting pickup. Not something we see too often from our Phoenix players.
Yeah, I really like that, especially with the consideration of that level 7 having the opportunity to get the single target healed just through those auto attacks. The intricacies of that relationship is going to be interesting to look at there as we see another combo drop down onto Lutano. 37% and counting here for Octalysis. Over control point B, portal laid out. Lutano going to eat a force of will. No portal taken quite yet. And I think that's something to highlight here, Jay. I'm not sure how many times we've seen a portal laid next to Lutano, but I can tell you this, I don't think I've seen him take a single one. And normally, they're risky portals, I get it. But if every portal you've laid is never going to be a threatening one, I'm never going to fear the next one here. And I can't help but wonder if that is a problem here for Freedom as Nasmus taking a bit of poke.
The damage coming out. We're in overtime. Team Freedom will have to hold on to here or they will give up another Protector, and they do not want to do that.
Oh
Goku with the healing pulse, but Lutano, his health bar just gets depleted, and it's time to fight, Dread.
Zugrug moving up, hits the two-man Howling Blast. Oh, BFD coming through on adjusting, but he's going to be able to vault out. Salvo coming through, but the Force of Will keeps him alive. Condemn ringing back Collusion, and Zugrug is enough to be able to confirm one kill. The Warden's Cage going to ring back Nasmus and Collusion. Triple kill here for Octalysis. Control point B and a Protector, and likely a keep at this point. The world is theirs.
Dread, my biggest takeaway from when we opened this show was the one word you used about this team, Octalysis: intimidating. They walk up and they are just, it seems like they're getting away with murder every time. I mean, they are just walking forward. They are daring the enemy team to come forward, and they have an answer every step of the way. I mean, that first kill at the start of the game seems like a distant memory for this team of Octalysis. They move down here towards this top keep. This will help confirm this to be the first keep down of the game. Will establish a full 3-level lead when all of these structures will fall. And Octalysis priming themselves on a map that we always have to point out they chose, they love to go to. They're finding the success here in game number 1 so far.
Making the transition now after top keep lay victim at the hand of that Protector. Transition over to mid or bottom. Bottom is going to be the call here from Octalysis, and understandably so. Better prepping control point C will be a win condition at this point because of how far ahead Octalysis very much is. Sometimes we see teams look for control point A and go for that middle ground damage with this protector. Very well done here from Octalysis, and showing understanding the landscape here of Volskaya and the circumstances they've found themselves in here in game 1.
They can, if they want to, at any moment, they can go rotate around, force another lane, come back, and use long-range chromie bombs and just drop down that well. Getting the well down will be a focus eventually, and because it's already at half health, there's no need for them to risk it. So they're going to play the map, continue to play around their experience advantage. Looks like they'll move up and also play around the camps to be fully loaded going into the next team fight. See if Team Freedom willing to risk this without that talent here. It's being scouted. It seems unlikely as we see several members already on the other side. Octalysis with that Sentinel going out has an easy and safe clear here, Dread.
But the experience should be in a range, J-How, to where Freedom, I think, will be able to achieve that 16 window just based off the hammer off siege alone if things get a little bit dire here. Nasmus actually getting dismounted. That's inevitable end use just to avoid adjusting there on the mount.
Can you blame him?
I mean, I understand these. I think I would have waited a little bit longer just because I feel like if Justin really was that hungry for that, he still would have been able to hit that tether with how early it was used. But, you know, either way here, Freedom is rounding what is going to be the 16 eventually. It's just Octalysis picking up this bottom fort will claim themselves further in the race here to 20.
The longer they show, see if this is a long play by Octalysis to see if for Team Freedom, I should say, because the longer Octalysis stays here, you can get a portal over. And they've got to be careful on how aggressive they want to be. They would have loved to have gotten that experience, Dreadnought. Here's the portal. Will it come down? Yoda has dismounted. Ooh. Goku. Nice Iron Skin usage. Will walk away. Team Freedom set that up. Octalysis, they stepped out. They're like, guys, this is too risky. They back off. They're one level away from 20. They get that 20 tier. That's conceivable. Even if the control point comes into play, they'll have time while Freedom is down there trying to cap it.
I think that was a very clever and great play from Freedom, but
yes.
I have one point I want to point out that I think was a very big setback, and it seems like it is subtle and nitpicky, but it's the different
positioning.
It was a very bad portal. There, with the level 1 talent, that should not be an acceptable situation. It was used in a position to where there's no way they were going to retreat into that portal, and so it needed to be used far more offensive with the exit there, and allows for Octalysis
a better flanking position,
exactly,
as you would say. Yeah,
and Octalysis get a free escape, and that was very much avoidable with this type of build.
Well, there's a portal in. They're going directly in. They don't really have minions, but there's some minions by way of Army of the Dead. Salvo comes out in return. It does not matter. Sergeant Hammer gets blown up. Collusion being zoned out. We got chaos on both sides. Only one member down on the side of Octalysis, 2 down on the side of Freedom. Let's make it 3. Justine trying to track down another. Collusion will make his way to safety for now, but a 3-for-1 trade escalating towards level 20, and Octalysis continues their dominance here in this game. They'll move forward. They'll look to get some more turrets, some structure damage down, release some waves down, to start to look to close out this game.
Yeah, with the 20 advantage in the free percentage solely on the difference between the spawning of Control Point C and the remainder of Team Freedom. This is a free objective and a free amount of setup damage on the bottom half of the battleground already from them. As you see Johanna, there are Goku having the rest of the squad looking to join him, picking up another turret. This is Octalysis going, this is game, and we are ready to take it here once we get our objective.
We've seen the success rate of these late game Punishers, Dread, with a 20-tier advantage. They will have to wait for Tyrande just now respawning. That top lane slightly pushed out. Team Freedom not even making an attempt towards that top right camp to try and alleviate some of that pressure. See if Octalysis takes the bait, looks for a fight, or whether they walk away. Johanna is the one still holding point. 80% in climbing. The portal backwards, though.
It's going to be used there. Pretty big damage coming out. Yoda actually going to take the other way out now as Zugrug trying to help out here. Nasmus moves forward, but he gets chunked down there by Justing on that Maev. They get the double kill here as the portal's laid out. 2 are going to take it.
He's got reset. See if he has that on cooldown. He went to reset at level 20. Might have already used it. Should be coming off cooldown momentarily. Lutano now being zoned out. Justin trying to make a play. Warden's Cage comes down. Lutano almost makes it to the portal by way of that Warden's Cage. And with 3 members down, Protector on the way. Octalysis will start their march down this bottom lane. Try and take a 1-0 in this best of 5.
Even have a couple of catapults on top. Preps timed perfectly to join in on the siege if they need so. after this keep ends up flying down at their hands. There's no way to save the keep for Freedom, but maybe the core, if they get a miracle defense pick onto Draded or Justing, something of the like. Collusion falling extremely low there as Yoda going to take the 1v1, and now Octalysis is looking to break the base here in game number 1 in pretty dominant fashion. Take Volskaya Foundry over Team Freedom.
That Chromie pick, slightly reworked. I mean,
I'm ready to eat my words. That was good enough for, I mean, bottom fight alone, that was a good enough evidence for me. We watched Chromie take Lutano at 80% HP and was like, you sieged up, I killed you.
Look at that. Twice as much damage as anybody on the other side of Team Freedom. Justing in that last fight, Dread, you pointed it out, was shredding that front line of Team Freedom.
It was because both Malthael and Arthas decided to stack perfectly.
You come through the portal and you think that you're safe, but Maev, nah.
And what that was doing is actually, because of the level 4, the standard level 4 on Maev is whenever you hit a target with your Fan of Knives, you get bonus physical armor onto everybody sitting outside of you. And Malthael and Arthas, though they don't have, only magics as anti-mage abilities, they don't have anti-physical damage very well, and that's pure physical coming through. Just end up spreading out a couple of those, and beyond the fact that it resets with a level 7 as well.
Yeah, this is Star coming down on 7.
You're hurting Arthas' army, and you're hurting your characters as well, is what I'm trying to point out. So it was like killing both at the same time. You can understand the thought process with the portal, but Justing showing maybe why he is not a warrior-only player here for the team.